Hot Takes and Toast brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serving Utah. Question of the morning, why is it viewed as a negative when a college player cries during media interviews after a loss? I remember us doing this question 20 years ago after John Beck. Is it something that's fascinated you even longer than that? First time you ever saw it and it was a big deal? Was it Beck or was it something else?
I think it was John Beck, and I think Junior Tafuna got emotional Friday night after the loss at ASU to the point where if you listen, and you can go listen to Morgan Scalley's interview yesterday in his media availability, they bring up a question, whatever it was, I forget the first question, and I believe, if I'm correct, I think I am, that after he answers the first question, he brings up his support for Junior Tafuna. It was not asked. He brings it up on his own and offers a full and complete endorsement. I've never had a problem with it, man. When John Beck did it, I believe it was after the Stanford game in which he threw a pick that they should have never have been. That was led to the win by 9, not by 2 comment, which became infamous in its own right. And they had that game. They held Stanford to a program low in the history of the program, like 25 yards of passing, and they still managed to lose the game. And Beck talked about how it ruins his whole weekend, and he cried. And I had zero problem with it, man. To me, that just shows care. But somehow in football, the manly man sport that it is, you're not supposed to do that. Well, if it hurts, why not? If that's what the situation that you're in leads to the real emotion in the moment, it's not 3 days later. It's right there. And you look at Tafuna, he's an all Pac-12 defensive lineman multiple times, and you went through last year and you were supposed to be really good. This year you're picked first, and we know the situation there and how it's, I don't want to say it's gotten away for this season. Certainly has not gotten away at all. That's not even close to the truth. The potential of them making the title game is on the road to getting away from them. I'm not even guaranteeing that it's going to get away from, that it is completely away from them right now. Crazy things can happen. You look at the odds of the games last week, and the highest odds were like 4 points. You just had the first place the team that was big favored to lose to the 16th team. So crazy things can still happen. Wouldn't surprise me. But, you know, you were expected to be a top 5, top 10 program and all that, and that's out the window. And so all that stuff there, second loss in a row, yada, yada, led him to be emotional. Fine. That just means he's 100% buy-in, all in or in the way. Well, let me tell you, Junior Tafuna is all in. He's not in the way.
Overwhelmingly, people are supportive of Junior Tafuna, John Beck, and the concept of a ton of emotion.
Well, it didn't seem like John Beck was overwhelmingly supported at that time.
At that time, I agree with you. But now we're talking a generation later and look at the comments.
Are we talking, or is it a Ute versus a Cougar? I don't know. I don't read the comments like you do. You're the guy who does that.
I don't view it as a negative. People being real is genuine, and I respect that.
Yeah.
Daniel, I don't think it is at all. We're emotional beings, and we go through a lot. It's healthy to express what we feel. Scotty, because human beings are awful. That's why we judge them. And Tony says it isn't a negative. People are just toxic, and we forget that we all have emotions. It goes on and on with this line. And I remember doing that show 20 years ago. This is definitely more support. I do think it's generational, and I think it's because of my age and where I grew up. Growing up in San Diego, there were retired military, there were veterans everywhere. Tons and tons of veterans. And a lot of them were in sports. They coached the other teams. One of them coached my team. And even if they weren't the veteran, they were of that generation. And I think going back to that, Riley referenced the movie line, Tom Hanks, there's no crying in baseball in a league of their own. A lot of those coaches and players, and we know the famous ones, but there's tons of them, but, you know, Willie Mays and Ted Williams stepped away from Hall of Fame careers to go serve. There was a draft, and so many people were in the military, and the U.S. was in so many wars in a row. And you read the stories about the veterans, they keep that stuff locked up. They keep a lot of that. People, I just had a friend tell me the other day, yeah, and they never talked about it. And my father-in-law, who's passed away now, stuff happened to him. We didn't know until he had Alzheimer's. He kept it locked up for 50 years. Once we knew, he just even had a hint of what he'd been through in Vietnam, everything, so many things that happened in his life and in that family made way more sense. I just think those guys kept emotion locked up. If the emotion started out, and maybe we can all, in whatever sector of your life, you can understand this a little bit, even if you haven't been in war and, done it, heard it, seen it, some combination of all those things. In your own life, if the emotion starts to go, you can't stop it. And I think that guys, I don't think you can underestimate guys coming back from war, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, whatever. If the emotion starts to go, you can't stop it. There's no crying anywhere. Everything gets locked up. Is that healthy? No. Does that lead to, in a lot of cases, not all, but in a lot of cases, does that lead to substance abuse? Probably. Is it healthy? No. Do I think people are out there self-medicating? Yes. Yeah, I do. I've seen it in my own life. And so I just think that becomes a standard, and it's applied everywhere. They came back to positions of leadership as teachers and coaches. No crying. None. And it was a tough guy thing, and I think every generation it lightens up a little bit.
War. What is it good for?
Absolutely nothing.
Man, you went into substance abuse, into all these things.
Oh, yeah.
That was way over my head.
No, I don't think it was.
I think it was.
Okay.
I never thought of that.
Okay, what do you think of the thought of once the emotion goes and the crack, then you just can't stop it?
I don't know about all these triggers. I don't understand any of that. I don't understand anything, as a matter of fact, when it comes to human emotion. Nothing. No, I'm not even going to get into what I've been through. I looked at it as he was sad in the moment.
Yeah.
I didn't look at it that the military in San Diego led to this.
There's a huge emotional commitment he made. And for him, not for everybody, but for him, championship or bust, playoff or bust. And he felt like it went away in that moment. And he lost and he was all in. And I think you got to appreciate the fact he's all in because you're not getting where they've been if you're not all in. You're not getting to conference title games and Rose Bowls if guys aren't all in.
That's true.
I think John Beck proved it, and maybe in some small way he helped turn the discussion here because as a freshman he said that and he took all the heat, but as a senior, huge season, big wins, legendary play. And so the notion that if you cry, you're weak, and then if you're weak, you can't get it done, well, he did get it done. Did he get to 10 wins? Yes. Did he beat the rival? Yes. Did he make the big play with the game on the line? Yes. So you can't really say the whatever quote-unquote weakness he showed got in the way of him winning.
I never did.
Right. Well, but I think some people did. I mean, I don't think we would. I don't think we'd
those
remember
were the guys
show.
in San Diego from the military, I guess.
I don't think we'd remember the show 20 years later.
What do you mean?
If people didn't have that.
Oh, they
take.
did. I remember.
Yeah. And that's why we remember the show 20 years later.
I'm with you. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I got you. I'm right there.
But 3 years later, and he's on top of the world.
I'm picking up what you're laying down.
Old school. Nice.
Yeah, I think all that goes into it. And I appreciate that Morgan Scally, on his own volition, decides to come out and say what he says and offers a level of strong support. You go listen to it for yourself if you want to. It's out there. Yeah, he offers a level of strong support on supporting his player because he must have heard something or it must have been something out there. And Tafuna, he had the interception, so they decided that he would speak. And it isn't easy to speak after losses. Everybody can speak after wins and joke and shuck and jive and all that stuff. But to face the questions after a loss in which you were expected to win, at least in the Arizona game, my gosh, Arizona was considered top half of the conference. This was literally the 16th place team. They were supposed to suck. Vegas had them at 4 wins. And then their coach afterwards says, hey, all you Sun Devils, you thought that we'd get more than 4 wins. Go ahead and now that you've won, you won some money, I want you to take that money that you won, that you picked us to have over 4 wins, and turn around and put that in the collective. And that got a huge laugh.
And he was serious and funny at the same time. That is hilarious. Now go ahead and do it anyway. We really do need that money. Here's Morgan in his own words.
I want to say something about, Junior Tafuna. It takes a lot of courage to face the media after losses, and I love that kid. And what a warrior. You can tell how much it means to him and how much it means to our guys. And so I'm grateful for guys like that, leaders that'll step up and face those situations.
Yeah. He brought it up unprompted.
I want to say something.
And he has every right to say it. Yeah. And that was his platform because they don't let BYU lets the coordinators speak every week.
Utah. Nope.
It's in a rotation. Maybe they get twice a season on how that goes. The actual season, not the preseason or spring. I'm talking about the actual season. And so this was his time, and it just so happened his time was this week after what happened on Friday. And so he goes and offers his support. Yeah, I would take 100 Junior Tafunas on my team. Absolutely, I would do that. Yeah, there's just no doubt about it, man. And he lays it out on the line. You're disappointed in the moment, and that's all it really was. It was in the moment, but it was bigger picture for him. Now you got to regroup here because you still have an opportunity to have a pretty doggone good season, man. You win 9 or 10 games, and you're going to do it in which the freshman quarterback starts 10 games. That's really impressive. There's just no doubt about that.
Got to recalibrate the expectations because they were all built on having Cam back.
Recalibration, yeah. Understood. But they're still in a good spot to have a really good season. Yeah, I get they're recalibrating the season, but not that much. It's not like, oh, now we're just hoping for bowl eligibility. Maybe they do reach that point in a couple of weeks. I don't see it right now. I see them going into the BYU game, coming out of October at 6-2. Yeah, that's the way I see it. And obviously I've been wrong a couple times before here, but that 6-2.
That's not terrible.
No.
It's not embarrassing. But I think Junior, with all that emotion, they really were committed to the idea of we're going to win the league and we're going to go to the playoff.
Yeah, well, fine. Great. And there's probably, there's going to be 12 teams that make it. What would you say? 15 other teams that don't make it
the number
think that they could
The number
make
in
it?
my head was going to be 20.
Okay.
So
yeah,
how realistic that was, you start to stretch it a little bit, I guess. But
oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. But when it comes, maybe they haven't reached that point yet where the Utes have suffered 2 losses already,
right,
that they will get to that point, and then it'll be just as disappointing for them. And any team that's picked first, and you don't finish first, that's a disappointment. Understood. Yeah. And you'd be sad about it and upset about it. But also, too, I expect this Ute team, when they run out of the locker room on Saturday night, to be all sorts of fired up. And we'll show you, because this is right in the old man's wheelhouse.
the old man.
He lives for this.
Kyle with a walker or a cane or
saying
something.
That.
He's got the big beard
That's not
down
at all.
to the floor.
That's your concoction of what an old man is. Mine is ripped, bare-chested.
There you go. Now.
Robert Kennedy Jr. over here.
Oh, nice.
You showed me those pictures. So from that perspective, so much more to go. And which leads us, it is Wednesday. Should we do our power poll?
Why not?
Yeah.
We got that coming up. Also, we got tickets to give away coming up. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.